I am looking for Sister Abundance and looking for Chef Aki to get in the building. Let's see. I got Abundance's number. Let's see if I got the Abundance Child from Air, Radio, Drop Squad Kitchen, the Head Mother in Charge, Girl Society, Order of Mother Earth. I think this is the number right here. I think I wrote it down right. Peace, sister. Is this you? Sister Abundance.
This is I. Peace.
Peace. What's going on, young lady? How are you tonight?
Oh, man, I'm so thankful.
Yes. This is beautiful. It's beautiful. You know what I mean?
It's just a good time right now. You know that?
Listen, let me tell you something. You know how funny I feel right now? I'm actually interviewing you. This is weird.
Oh, my God. This is crazy. That's true.
I've always been on the other side. Now I get to ask you questions. This is an honor, sister.
Oh, thank you.
This is an honor to have you on and an honor to be. So tell us what's going on with Abundance Child, Drop Squad Kitchen. Give us the latest, the greatest. Tell us what's going on.
Kitchen just got nominated as the best, healthiest place to eat in Delaware.
Wow. I need to drop some
in
bombs.
the state.
I think I got some bombs. Hold on. Listen, if you have not eaten at Drop Squad Kitchen, you have missed the greatest meal on earth. Seriously. Listen, y'all got to get to Delaware. Tell them that. What's the address, sister? How can they reach you in Delaware? Where are you in Delaware?
We are located in Delaware's only riverfront, Wilmington Shipyard Shops, 928 Justison Street. We're located directly on the river.
Wow. Beautiful. So now, tell us when folks come to you and they're saying they want to transition their diet and they've been, living the sad diet and they trying to make strides. I mean, they got a bad environment going on. They don't know what to shop. They don't know where to go. Give us an idea of what type of services you have, especially available for our mothers out here, to transition them from the sad diet and that whole lifestyle gradually into nutritional healing and awareness of their nutrition.
I'll be like, it ain't no thing but the chicken wing. No, for real. That's how I be with them. I mean, I meet them where they're at. I do not make anyone feel any type of way. After they explain to me where they are, what they want to do, you find out a lot about someone when they start talking with you, when you open up yourself. So they come to the restaurant, they sit down. I actually sit down at the table with them. If they're standing outside, I'll come outside and build with them. And I really just meet them where they're at. It could be a self-esteem issue and all they talk about is losing weight. It could be they were diagnosed with high blood pressure or diabetes. It could be they want to get rid of their acne. It's all types of things. So basically I find out where they're at, what they are currently eating, why do they eat that way. A lot of times it's because, that's what their mom ate or because it's convenience, because they work a 9 to 5. You just got to actually find out about that person. And then some of the services that I have to offer them is I will actually take you shopping because a lot of times, people, they're trying. They go to these stores and they get brown rice because they've been told that brown rice is the best for them as far as rice is concerned. So I'll introduce them in the regular fresh grocer that they're used to going to, Kroger or whatever. I'll introduce them to some wild rice or some black rice. And we even extend the shopping trip to an Asian marketplace or to a produce stand or to a Whole Foods. Whatever they haven't done, I'm introducing them to that. We come home, we cook the food, and they're left with the recipes. That's the Kitchen Lab certification. I also do group cooking classes right on site at the Drop Squad Kitchen. We have soul food cooking classes for the people who are transitioning. They still craving some chicken. They want veggie burgers, ribs, fish. I teach them how to make all of that type of stuff, macaroni and cheese, greens. For the next phase, for people who are into beans, no, the next phase would be, like the people who are doing the seat-in and stuff like that, and then the beans, then the people who are into just fruits and vegetables and things like that. So we have different, whatever it is that your diet is or your live it is, I will show you how to make something with it, and it will be unapologetically healthy and, most importantly, tasteful.
Wow, I love that. Unapologetically healthy. That got to be like one of the most powerful slogans ever in time. Well, listen, the next thing that I'm interested in, because I get these calls all the time from all over the country. Sisters are like, man, listen, in honor of ISIS, what do y'all have for rites of passage for me and my daughter? You know, I'm trying to figure out how to start these businesses. I'm trying to, connect with my sisters. Tell us about the Rites of Passage Society, the Order of Mother Earth, and the extensions of it, the vision, the goal, what is it, and how the sisters can connect with you.
Well, our mission with the Order Mother Earth is to protect the womb, guard the sisterhood, and bring forth the new world into existence. That's what our mission is. The mission of the Girl Society is to uplift fallen humanity one girl at a time. Our vision with both organizations is to be the preeminent organization for Aboriginal Indigenous females intercontinentally. How are we going to do that? By creating economic sustainability in the communities we serve, starting with ourselves. We have our own constitution, our own government that comes from nature, and then our families, and then the communities at large. We believe in doing that via an economic system that we call gain godly ability to master everything. And we do that by recognizing what nature is, what our place is in nature. And what sets us apart from other organizations is that we work with our brothers to do everything. Our brothers pretty much are writing the Rites of Passage program. Our whole program is about uplifting these brothers so that we can be liberated, because our paradigm means that our liberation comes from getting out of the system, not being more comfortable in the system. So our women have to be vegetarian. They have to be vegan. You have to work out. You have to know supreme mathematics. You have to know civics. You've got to know how to cook. You have to know how to sew. So, yeah,
wow.
That's what we do.
It's nothing like it that I've seen, and I see the activity of the sisters, and it's an honor to be able to do anything. One of the things that we want to help propagandize is striving to get brothers to contribute to a budget. We haven't fully developed those plans yet. I know I got to talk to you and other sisters about it, but here, if the men are listening, because this is my message to the brothers, when you see an original woman like this sister stepping out and doing the things that she's doing, there should never be a time where she has any thought, feeling, etc., of a lack of support from her brothers. I'm saying this because it is a self-imposed curse for us not to seek out, identify, and support this sister and the sisters who are with her, because they will tell the tale of what our future will be. So they need money in the form of contributed energy so that these programs can flower exactly into the vision that they need to flower into. So all I'm going to do is push the man up button and say, if you spending money on this, and this, every week, every month, you can contribute to the treasury of the Order Mother Earth. There's no reason why any of us can't, and we're going to do our due diligence to support the sisters. So when they develop the program, we make the call, and we get millions of men to contribute to what y'all are going to do. And that's a lifetime project, in my mind, that is for my daughters. I have 4 daughters, and I know that there's nothing out there like this that they can have. So, I'm going to do my duty to make sure that I make the call. I know there's a lot of other brothers that are out here who are going to sing it. So I just want you to know, sisters, that we got your back, 1,000%. We're going to do everything in our power to make your vision come through. You deserve it, and you've been doing work that is so immaculate, I can't even speak on it. I mean, we actually just need to give a standing ovation, a cyber standing ovation or something for what you've been doing. It's just an honor to see the work in action. On nutrition, let us go straight to nutrition because you got all kind of diets out here. And if you're talking to women, you talk about the transition, you talk about moving to a better dietary practice. For our sisters, when a sister comes to you and she has an ailment and she's trying to understand the basics, and this is just a basic, because I want people to know that our women are on science, and she's trying to understand, well, how is this chicken that I'm eating contributing to these fibroids or whatever it is? How is it that you communicate to our women on a very mundane level? Listen, your nutrition is the causation point of most of the disease. What do you say to these women? Because
I say exactly what you just said. I mean, with me, I mean, you know me. I just cut straight to the chase. I just say exactly what you just said. I'm like, you are what you eat. They understand that, and they know that. Right. It's just that we get lazy, and I remind them why I created the Order of Mother Earth. I'm like, you guys got to stop denying your relationship to God. You got to stop denying your relationship to nature. Y'all have, it's apparent because this is how you're eating. Like, you eat at a certain time at night, you eat certain things. It's all based off of something psychologically that's going on, and we're here as your sisters to work on that. But first of all, I need you to write down your game, the godly ability to master everything. What's your plan? What's your business plan? What's your goal? What's your focus? If you're not willing to take the time to put that out there, then we can't really get in. We can't really get in because it's real easy to be like, oh, you eat chicken, you eat beef, these are the problems. A lot of our problems are way deeper. It could be domestic violence. It could be anything. But that's why I have the sisters write everything out, and sisters have to be there to support. And we do work with, I'm not alone over here in the Drop Squad Kitchen. I do have a partner, and that's Minister Enqi with the Amber Institute. So anybody, like all of those types of issues, like I'm not going to front. Like, I handle the food. I'm the chief food scientist. That doesn't mean that I'm not articulate in as far as ailments and things like that, but that's just not my thing. It's my thing for my daughters and the people we're close to. But if people, I send them to the healers for that. Like, I heal with the food. If you tell me that it's a fibroid issue, then I understand estrogen. You understand what I'm saying? So I'd be like, look, we're going to cut back off of your sunflower seeds. We're going to cut back on the cashews. We're going to make your cheesecakes out of almonds. We're going to make your tuna if you're doing the nut thing, we're going to make your tuna out of pumpkin seeds, stuff like that. Like, I got it. But I send them to the sisters and the brothers that are worthy of that kind of work, and then I prepare the food based off of the diagnosis, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's the yin and yang of health, and we're going to get our brother Minister Enqi on shortly. Him and Brother George are going to come on, but I just want to thank you, sister, for your work. Again, we support you. We thank you for doing everything that you do. The multiple talents that you have and the diversification of those talents is contributing to the rise of our people. And once again, thank you for your diligent work, sister. I appreciate it.
Oh, yes, and there's this one more thing that I wanted to say, if you don't mind.
Oh, go ahead.
In the spirit of the work that I do, Order Mother Earth, I was just talking to my daughter earlier. I was just like, I just feel like I'm a different type of sister, and I feel like all this energy that's coming out right now, I'm starting to meet these different beings that are, like, we're just different. Like, we really, really are about liberation, and I'm serious when I say I'm the head mother in charge, and we talk about Order Mother Earth and things like that, and I hear you when you say there's nothing like that. But I want to tell all y'all brothers out here, like, we're unstoppable, we're unbreakable, and I'm not standing for no more disrespect of me or anybody that's close to me, especially these women on the inside or the outside. And I just have to say that for the record, Ali, and I mean it. Like, no more disrespect. I don't like it. I don't like to be threatened. I don't. So this is a beautiful platform, and I hear you saying that you respect me and you respect, Order Mother Earth, but I just wanted to say that because I know I'm being attacked right now, and I don't like it, and I just wanted to put that out there for the record, that I'm not going for it, and I got mad brothers, including you, that co-sign me. You know what I mean? I'm an honorable and righteous sister, and that's what it is, and I'm building a society, and we need our brothers to really, really, really be about that. And no fakeness. You either for it or you not. There's no gray area. And that was it.
Right. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And, sister, that's right on time.
Okay.
One of the things that I've learned in my own space and personal development amongst our people, amongst my family, amongst my children, we have to learn two things that will save us. And you just stated really both of them. The value system. The value system sets laws that are immutable that protect us. And then the second thing we have to realize is in our development, the errors will come, but we have to learn to forgive each other. And when the space comes for forgiveness and re-attenuation to the value system, if the heart of every party is willing, that's where we archive into the universe that we have learned the lesson. And we salute the Babalao, Aye, who is our ancestor of lessons. So to all of the people who are going to be on tonight, because I know it might be a little hot in here tonight, because I know the men going to bring the masculine energy, but I wanted to get you and the Chef Aki in the middle to put the meiotic balance, because I know what y'all bring. Y'all remind us of our duty to exude our feminine aspects. And our feminine aspects are, as brothers, we are never to have the heart to disrespect y'all. To do that is to disrespect our mother, our sisters, our wives, etc. And if we slip and we make an error at any point, in private or in public, we should go and resolve that issue to reaffirm that we are for each other. And that is the spirit that I work in, because I am not unflawed. I can pull the sisters out and they can say a whole lot of stuff that I've been out of order with, coming out of my mouth in my life. But one thing that they'll never be able to say is that I'm not 100% for them. And I need every man to understand that when you make a mistake and you come to your sisters privately and publicly and restore confidence, that is what is going to keep us together. So, Sister Abundance, you and no other woman on earth deserve to be disrespected because of what you are, who you are, and what you represent to us. And we're not going to stand for it. And we're also going to propagate the first step to be forgiveness. And if niggas don't understand forgiveness, then that's when we can, we can move with the more scimitars. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's
it's
how we
love
do.
always. But you got a new breed of sisters coming. I was just saying that, we're not going for that. And also, these new breed of sisters is welcoming this new breed of brothers. Like, I love to see the fights online. I'm like, stop. I don't like to see the effeminization. I want our brothers to warrior it out intellectually. We need that. Let these men be men. So, but you got new breed of sisters, too, that's standing up. Like, we're not men, but we're not going to be disrespected. So thank you for this platform.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I appreciate you. We love you, sis. We love you. Thank you.
All right. Peace.
Peace. That is The Abundant Child. Air Radio, Drop Squad Kitchen, Order Mother Earth, Girl Society, you name it. She is archiving her greatness into the universe. Now, let's see. I know I got Minister Enqi and Argenis, and I think this is maybe George, 3210. If that's you, George, on the 3210 line, please confirm that, because I want to make sure that that we get you on properly. Matter of fact, let me bring Brother Argenis on. I think this is his number that he confirmed to me. Let's see if I can get the God on. Brother Argenis, are you there? Ready for all? Are you there? All right. I'm not getting nobody here.
No, Ali.
Phoenix, you there, brother?
Yeah, this is me. This is Argenis, also known as R. ready for all. Ready for revolution.
Yes, sir. Welcome to the show, brother. It's a pleasure to have you. Now, can you confirm the number that George is calling from, or if he's calling in?
What I can do is 3210 is his number. He's also here with me, so I don't know.
Okay, yeah. Well, yeah. If he's there, you know what? I don't know how y'all gonna do it. Y'all gonna be in separate rooms. You're gonna use the same phone. Whatever is most convenient for y'all. What do y'all think is best? We got some
just go in now. Hold on.
Yeah, we got some feedback.
Am I on that?
We got some feedback, bro.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get the other phone out of here. Brother Ali was good.
Peace. What's going on, beloved? How are you tonight?
Ali Muhammad. Would you say I couldn't hear you because I was talking over you?
Yes, sir. I said I'm doing wonderful tonight, brother. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I got my family around me. I had a wonderful birthday meal, and I'm just here on the phone with you, and this is like a dream come true for me because just last year I was just trying to get into your information, and I had so much to share with you, and it's been so long that I wanted to get so much out, so right now this is like a birthday gift for me, so I just want to say I'm honored to be here.
No, go ahead, bro.
Oh, no, I was just saying I'm honored to be here.
Well, congratulations on another revolution around our org, brother. It's an honor to have you here, brother. And what we want to do tonight is first, we want you to talk about this revolutionary dietary science called the NRR, or the nutrient retention rate. What is it that George Bess is doing to advocate optimal nutrition for our people based on science and practicing that science into reality? What are you doing? Explain to us what the NRR is and who George Bess is, brother.
Okay, to give you a little bit of my background, I come from Mount Vernon, New York, and I come from an environment which cultivated a great deal of science and attention to detail within me. My mom she worked for Westchester County Health Department, and she was a health inspector, but also she did a lot of lab work. So I grew up in the lab work around my mother. And my father, he was from North Carolina, and then he ended up moving up to Harlem. And he basically gave me a great deal of history that at my early age I didn't believe in. But then as I started to do my studies in areas of nanotechnology and got into biology pretty heavy in my teen years while I had access to LexisNexis, which is a database while I was in college, I just did so much research that ultimately woke me up to something spiritually that was deep within me, and I followed that. So that's the key to the nutrient retention rate. It's something that was in me that I followed, and I listened to myself outside of all the things that society told me. I listened to myself by looking at the signatures that my body would send back to me. I listened to pretty much things that I didn't even know existed that were guiding me to places that every time I looked, I found something that gained me a new perspective, and how I would basically apply these different perspectives simultaneously to my own situation allowed me to build a very deep, intimate relationship with the environment around me. And so the nutrient retention rate is really based on my sensitivity to my environment. And then with that sensitivity, I felt that it was time for me to stop having a stressed out environment from not being able to articulate myself. So I did a great deal of studying so that I could learn how to express what I was feeling to other people. So my ability to articulate myself with the sciences only comes as a result of wanting to be able to give back what the universe has given me. So there's way more to the nutrient retention rate than the dietary aspects, but the dietary aspects are an initiation in order to develop spirituality, or the ability to articulate spirituality on a level where you can have a very deep and intimate relationship with the universe. So I feel that the body needs to be pure. Huh?
Brother George, I hate to interrupt you, but let me say something about what you just said, and please excuse me for interrupting you. What you just said, in the way that you just said it, I think is important for everyone making transitional changes in diet. And the reason why I'm going to say it is because often people are caught in the melee of following what others say without having that deep internal reflection about what is going on in them when they're making those said changes. And that is what I see that is different in what you are doing, because it is adding a level of transformation inwardly inside of the person as they make those transitions. So I'm just reverberating the frequency that you are emitting, but I want you to understand that we, in the audience that you're talking, feel exactly what you're saying. So go ahead on, brother.
Thank you. I would also like to continue on to say that in that system that I've developed, what is utmost important is to understand that the environment that you metabolize comes from within, first and foremost. So beyond what you put in your body as far as the dietary aspect, your thoughts and how those thoughts stimulate different neurotransmitter and hormonal activity are the main environment in which your body metabolizes who you are and what you project outwards. And we can break it on down into the level of photons and different interactions that happen on the subatomic level that have to do with electromagnetism. But what we can all relate to is the human experience. So the nutrient retention rate is designed to be able to cultivate a human experience that is outside of the paradigm of the colonial influence, which is incredibly difficult to do. And for me to go into the background of how long it took me and what experiences I've had that have caused me to be able to identify what things were not within our innate culture would just take forever. So I'm basically gonna act it out and show how I interact with people to display what it is that I've learned. And as to say, for respect and issues in dealing with the nature of the condition of our people at this point in time, I would like to say that I'm very sorry for putting Abundance Child in a disrespectful situation, and I did so for the nature of honoring my own queen. But I feel incredibly horrible about having to present a situation like that, and I'm not going to actually build on that at all tonight. I'm going to spend the rest of the time I have speaking on other things. I just want to say that I'm deeply I feel I'm hurt in that things went that way, and I'm always going to be there for Abundance Child and Minister Enqi to assist them in any ways that I can. And I'm really sorry that it had to get that way for the people who had to witness that. But beyond that,
let me say before you continue that, and this is why this show is happening. One thing that I do understand and I do know in life is that there are no mistakes in this universe. There's perceptive mistakes because of our human emotions, but there are no mistakes in the sense that every opportunity event that is archived into this universe is an opportunity for the growth and the development of each one of us. So first I want to commend you for being a man, for saying what you just said, and I also want to commend you and her for even raising the issue, because oftentimes we don't raise the issue in a civilized, in a respectful, in a heartfelt manner, so that we can get past those issues. And I know, based on whatever y'all discuss private or whatever discussed public, I saw, some of the things. This is one of the reasons why I'm doing this show. I'm doing this show because all of you are important to me personally. And when I say personally, I mean not just my own person, because I understand what my person is. My person is you. So I called all of my little brothers and sisters together to make sure that, one, they could come and continue to show their brilliance. Two, they could come and continue to show that we are together. There is not, the beautiful thing about tonight is there's not one iota of parasitic or heterotropic or dysfunctional energy emitting from anyone, and that is a sign that we are about to go a lot of places. You know what I mean? So I just want to commend you on that. I know you don't want to stay on that, but I'm just backing you up in that. And I know you love your queen, that sister, and all of our women, because you love yourself, and you're proving it. So keep going, God.
All right, thank you. And so back to how we metabolize our environment, I mean, you pretty much just touched on what I was going to expand on a bit, but that was how we need to really express what we're feeling inside and not conceal our feelings based on societal standards, because we're in a society that causes us to conceal what's going on, but then it really does manifest in an outward fashion. So if you don't address problems directly and the way that you should based on what's going on, if you're embarrassed by some feelings you have that you know aren't socially acceptable and you don't have anyone to go to talk about them, then those things can fester. And then if you find enablers that allow you to continue a lifestyle with that, then it becomes a disease that manifests on the mental and emotional level. And I feel that at the root of the issues we're having, even within the paradigm of health, is that we need to understand how a state of being or the neurotransmitter activity that's constantly fluctuating throughout the day based on stimulus is of utmost importance in understanding how our bodies are going to be metabolizing our environment internally and externally. And continue, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, because I do have a statement I want to make just on that, but go ahead.
Okay, and also, I'd rather hear what you have to say. I mean, really.
well, there's this concept it's not new in physics, but it's peaking on taking physics to what I could say is another level, and the concept that many of the quantum physicists are exploring is something called self-similarity, and basically self-similarity deals with the concept that at any dimension of your life, whether you're dealing with the social dimension, the religious dimension, the economic dimension, the relationship dimension, the frequencies of the magnetic fields of your mind, elucidating through your anatomy and physiology, will carry self-similar energies in all those fields. I'm saying that to say that as you explore the what we are calling the spiritual side of invoking our health, and then you get into more detailed, scientific analysis, looking at parasites and heterotrophs and other things, how do you see that concept of self-similarity, meaning a person who is highly invaded by parasites or heterotrophic organisms, etc., having that same psychological or mental behavior? Is there something to that? Is that real? Or is that just some imaginary New Age stuff? What is this concept and that I've found to be called self-similarity? Is that a real concept? And are there biological relationships to electrical, magnetic, spiritual reality in that sense?
Oh, as far as, is that a question to me? Because, I mean, as far as...
because I know...
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's obvious to you. It's obvious to you.
I'm about to go in right now. That's what it is. I was getting excited. All right. So basically, it's obvious in that we can see the signatures of parasite overgrowth all throughout our society. When we see a person that is overweight, that's obviously yeast overgrowth and cellular inflammation in the body, and we need to be able to address these problems they are on an obvious level, and then be able to find a way to bring remedy to them as a culture. Because if we ignore the issues that are obvious, then it's almost impossible to get to the root issues that can be hidden. And so the hidden world is what I would say is our world. We are highly emotional beings, and the emotion comes from all of the chemicals and neurotransmitters that our bodies are able to produce because of its high level of conductivity. So we're at a level where we feel literally the wavelength fluctuations from the day-to-day sun fluctuations, the solar flares, the electromagnetic fields that come from other planets around us, and that goes into astronomy and astrology and how metaphors are used for how these various dynamics influence us. So on a very deep level, that is where we belong and where we need to be functioning as a society. But on the superficial level, we're in a society where people literally eat yeast and fungus. And if they don't think that stuff is going to inhibit the electric conductivity in their bodies, then they're just never going to be aware of what's causing those ailments, what's causing the feelings of sluggishness, what's causing the various types of autoimmune diseases that we get. And just to build on that, I know you touch a lot on how viruses and microorganisms are utilized against us, but back in times where we were told about the colonial and the conquistador invasions in our native communities, like worldwide, they used alcohol and diseases to get at us. And these things are still prevalent in us today, and that's why you find alcohol prevalent in any black community or any indigenous community, and they're trying to make it as worldwide as possible. I mean, even to the point where they're on every island that we were initially indigenous on, and we have to actually reclaim a lot of our indigenous and our ancient information, because I'll have to say that I had to go through a great deal of the ancient information and mythos to come up with the nutrient retention rate and a lot of the information contained within it. And I'll say that is our most prized possession, and we need to get ourselves together so that we can start to pick up the pieces and fit what we need back into ourselves so that we can recover. And while you're here, I just want to mention, a lot of people don't know how deep your studies go, Dr. Ali Muhammad, and I know that you know a lot of this happened based on issues that the planet, like planetary discharges from not so far off but ancient times. So a lot of that has to ultimately come in so that the people can see it in a cultural fashion so that they can get the visuals, because your book Star Prophecy was one of the, I mean, I read a lot of research studies and a lot of information like that, but I mean, between you and Minister Enqi, you guys woke me up on a level where I realized I had to just become active, because I was afraid and I didn't want to act because I knew I had information that was vital and important. But I'll tell you, when you purify your mind and your body and you gain that sense and connection with the universe, you'll be brought to the platform to perform, and the universe will provide you with what you need. As long as you walk the path of righteousness, you'll be unharmed. And I heard you say that last year when you said, I'm doing what I'm doing for my people, and I felt you when you said it. You said, I'm doing what I'm doing for my people, and the universe got my back. If it don't, then it don't, but you just was out here. And that's what I really respect about you, Enqi, Abundance Child, and everybody who's in the community who's done that, because that's what's really going to make the changes that we really need right now. And I respect that. I mean, I love you guys on a very deep and intimate level, and I know we all feel each other. That's why we got to be here for each other on that level where we can address things on us, you know, on our intimate cultural level. But so as far as the parasite overgrowth and the fluctuations that happen, anytime that you get something influencing your body's electromagnetism in a way that reduces the electricity that basically happens when the yeast or any parasites get into your central nervous system or your parasympathetic nervous system, it inhibits the electric flow. Your body you can sense it when you have like diabetes and you have loose feeling in your fingers and toes, or when you're malnourished and you don't have the type of neurotransmitter activity to send signals where they need to for digestion and or healing, and you see the signatures all over. And whenever something's inhibiting an electric flow in your nervous system, it inhibits your magnetic field. And our magnetic, like when you see how magnets come together, it's their field that allows them to connect. So when the electricity is weak, then so is the magnetism, and then things fall apart, and it's obvious. There's so many obvious signatures of parasite overgrowth, but it's very prevalent in how we treat one another, and also the facial expressions that happen as micro expressions that indicate what may be on our hearts and what may be deeply hidden within us that even if we tried to hide, we couldn't hide, and then they show anyways. And so we have to be able to address this as a culture and understand that is the world that is being utilized against us. That's why today it's popular to be ignorant as opposed to popular to be something that's going to improve you and your conditions, especially being that we're in these embarrassing conditions that we are as a people today. So I think that's my thoughts on the quantum aspect of it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. So let's move to diet. I want to talk about standard vegan diet and then fruitarian, and then compare it to the NRR, the nutrient retention rate, and what is it that you're doing and why that is different as far as your self-practicing skills in observing how to get nutrient retention at its optimal level. What are you doing different than a vegan or someone who might be a vegetarian or fruitarian? What is it based on science that you're doing from your vantage point?
Well, I would say based on science, I'll just give a testimonial so that I could say that I was my own lab rat for many, many years, but I have to give a little bit of a background, and then I can pretty much cover that in about 5 to 7 minutes. So do I have 5 to 7 minutes to cover that?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, man.
All right, cool. So I would say that my mom was a vegetarian. My father was a vegetarian, and he was a practicing naturopath. My father wasn't always a vegetarian. He was more of a starchitarian at the time, but my mom was heavy into yoga, dieting, and she was a vegetarian for over 20 years before she had me. My father chose my mother specifically because she was a vegetarian. He said that he had made some mistakes earlier in life and that he wanted to be able to correct them and put things in place on the planet. And so he basically tried his best to right his wrongs and cultivate something that would produce strength and integrity on the planet. So I'll have to say that this started before I was born, and that the things that I have access to come from a long lineage of having either genetic data stored within me that allows me to be able to express either certain phenotypical traits and or have latent traits that I can have more easily accessible because they haven't not been used for too long. They're not as atrophied. That's just based on, I guess, my own paradigm. I don't have the science to qualify it right now, so I'll just make the statement that it would be a part of the nutrient retention rate that I would just qualify that as, that I'll be explaining scientifically in the future in very detailed form. But so I would say that growing up, my mom being a vegetarian, she pretty much had the idea of being a vegetarian so much for the purpose of not harming animals. And so I would question her on why she didn't eat meat, and she really would just say, "Oh, it's bad to hurt animals," and I kind of ate the meat. I did the standard American diet, but I was actually from a family that was first generation up from farms on both sides of my family. So my genetics hadn't been damaged over time, and my I guess what the memory was left behind didn't take favor to the foods that were in the city, and I had access to a lot of what we call Southern black cooking, and I ate a lot of baked foods, but I had a lot of collard greens when I was young. I ate a lot of fish when I was younger, so I wasn't exposed to a lot of the toxins that the average family was being exposed to. And that said, I was a superior athlete, and I always performed very well in school because from what I thought early in life was that I was somehow gifted, but also because I wasn't exposed to the amount of toxins that the average person was being exposed to. And being that my mom was a scientist and she would always bring home her lab equipment and she would have like Geiger counters, tests for asbestos, things like litmus papers and different things, I was always very analytical about my environment anyways. And so I would say that transitioned into me just being very self-conscious. Long story short, after years of pretty much destroying my body, I had come to the conclusion that I had to stop faking the appearance of being healthy because I had a muscular and aesthetically good-looking body. I had to stop faking the appearance of being healthy and really get down to being healthy. So I just started to finally apply all the latent information that I had on health and what I had seen with my mom. I had seen her age vastly different than the people around her, and she's in her 60s now and still looks like she's in her 40s, even though she's a starchitarian at the time. So, and that's because of a long-standing diet. So, am I still here? I heard a
yes, sir. You're in.
Okay. So, so my mom basically, she was the root to why I even started to look in the vegetarian department. And then I was in college, and I took a class that taught how the environment is being completely destroyed by farming, and that just caused me to look deeper into things because there was a guy who was the son of the Ben & Jerry's ice cream company who had did a video that we had to watch in class on the destructive aspects of that business. And that just kind of hit me to what was going on around me in such a way where I really started to realize that whatever's going on in this environment is incredibly destructive, and that the activity that I was participating in had a lot to do with the way I was eating. So I just started putting things together in my mind, and then at that point I realized I had to heal from years of, I did a lot of drinking. I did 10 years of a lot of drinking and smoking. and I destroyed my body, and I had the ability to make it look good, but it was crippled from the inside on a deep level. And so after I had a bone marrow infection, that was in 2008, I had to really get focused on what was needed to heal myself, because when your bone marrow is infected, you're depleted on a level where you can feel the shift in the temperature from 3 degrees. I mean, the winters were harsh for me. I couldn't even raise my left arm fully for about a year after that happened. And I had to really recover, because I was used to being strong. I was used to being alpha male, but I couldn't even bounce a basketball without fracturing a bone in my left hand. So I was weak and I was desperate and I needed something. So I just put my intellect to work. And as I put my intellect to work, things woke up in me. I detoxed from parasites. I had a long journey. There's so many things and so many aspects to this that it would take forever for me to explain. So I know I'm nearing or past my 7 minutes, but I'm going to try to compress this in that I've been an aquarium tech and I've done real-time marine biology experiments on aquatic environments that rely on UV, infrared, and mineral density to improve the conditions for things like soft corals and zooplankton. And I have a lot of experience in a closed setting, transitional and forensics mental illness facilities in which it was pretty much like a residential home, and I would pretty much be a weekend supervisor. So I have 24-hour access and observation rights over a whole house of people. And it's been hundreds of people, and I'd been for 7 years in addition to the other jobs that I had. So I had, and the jobs that I did were just jobs that would specifically assist me with gaining data. So I just dedicated my life at a certain point in time just to being able to gain data, and I looked at that as the payoff. So I've even taken jobs that weren't very lucrative just to gain a great deal of knowledge. And so I would have to say that I combined many, many years of knowledge with experience, and I woke something up inside of me that helped me guide myself to figuring out what would be optimal based on a feeling. So based on having been in a state where I was the top performer, I mean, in my whole town, I never lost a race. I've never met anyone who was stronger than me. I haven't had anybody who could compete on levels physically that I could. I always knew that I was like tip-top shape, even on a professional level. I even played and have some professional athletic friends, so I know that my skill level is very high. So I'd say that what I'm basing my results on is an experience that is above average. And in order to get to that above average experience, I've employed a lot of techniques that are within the nutrient retention rate in order to achieve that. And one of those is understanding the cycles of detoxification and then regeneration. So I would say that the issue here would be that the phytic acid, which I've explained that at the state of after you detox, you want to reduce the phytic acid greatly and the type of phytic acid that you ingest greatly in order to allow your body the environment to be able to uptake minerals more effectively. So it's almost impossible to eat a raw, fruitarian diet and survive without phytic acid, but understanding the nature of how phytic acid functions on a molecular level and in the microenvironment and what it does in the microenvironment is key to assisting with with maximizing mineral assimilation and density within the body. So that's pretty much, I'll try to just sum it up like that. Our Highness is telling me to hurry up. What?
Well, all right. So what we're gonna do is
I mentioned it. I said phytic acid.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, because I think I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is bring Minister Enqi on in a few minutes because I know there was some communication and dialogue about whether phytic acid was detrimental to our people or not, and what is the science behind that, what is the practicality. I think that you've talked your points in respect to your utility of what you're doing, and a part of that from what we've discussed is removing the skins of fruits because of the nature of the phytic acid in those particular skins and how that has increased the bioavailability of the minerals and the energy efficiency for your practice of your diet. Would you say that would be correct?
Yes, that's correct. And
okay, great. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead,
and I would recommend even removing layers of lecithin. Like if you're going to be consuming sprouted sunflower seeds, there's a small layer that's clear and thin on them, and that I'd also recommend removing after they're sprouted. So there's basically steps and procedures that I would recommend to prepare foods that could reduce the phytic acid and other phyto compounds that are detrimental to the body. So I would say that lecithins aren't necessarily only bad. They can be utilized in the body in functional ways, but that would be after the body is developed without parasites, and I wouldn't recommend that for people who are in a transition state.
Well, I would dissent on that because I wrote a paper today, and like I said, Minister Enqi is going to come on because I was asked to write a paper about the biosynthesis of melanin. And a part of the paper that became important is the discussion on phosphates or conversion of phosphorus to phosphates. And tyrosine and melanin production had a lot to do with the data of that particular conversation. So, I mean, when I bring Mr. Enqi on, I let him talk and speak on his points about the importance of phytic acid. And then I'll also chime in because this is an important subject because there's two things that are a part of this discussion. One part of the discussion that's very important is often when people think of getting better with nutrition, they always think of solving problems. And that, to me, is like being in second or third gear in a stick shift, and the stick shift has 5 gears. The other gears that are part of nutrition and health are opening back up powers that the human being has that aren't necessarily driven towards dealing with detrimental issues. They're dealing with capabilities that the human being has, whether you think it's intuition, telepathy, other types of powers that we have that we are not accessing at the level that we could if we would change the way we thought about the ways that things are used, especially in this sense in nutrition. Because if you're thinking about solving disease problems all the time, that's great, but that's like, I have to say, for me, a person who's been practicing for a long time, that's elementary to me. It's elementary to me in my own personal space as far as my experimentation on self. I've been through, put myself through various diets, tested myself diagnostically, tested myself, just with my own questioning, and I know what works for me based on experimentation. I've done fruitarianism, I've done veganism, I've done vegetarianism, I've done what I would call the non-DNA diet, which is similar to the concept that you have. I've done them, and I would resolve that removing seeds completely from your diet, if you're able to, you will begin to feel differently. Now, depending on the environmental space, it has a lot to do with it. And when I wrote the paper today, I addressed those things. So I'm going to close on some of those points from the paper, and then we can open up the discussion. But what I want to do now is I want to try to bring Minister Enqi in so he can talk about the issues of phytic acid or tyrosine. And I want to say something before I bring you on, Minister Enqi. Everything tonight has been functional and positive. And I have to say this openly because you're my brother. You came in the chat, and all night you've been complaining and speaking downwardly towards us. And there's no reason to do so because you've been invited on the show because of your expertise in health and presenting information. If you have a grievance, there's been extensions for you to speak about those things in private. This show is for you to elucidate on facts, to contribute to the spirit of brotherhood and sisterhood, just as Abundance did, just as George did, just as Coach Eve did, just as Diallo. I have to say this about myself. I'm a very patient person because I have to be because I have 6 children. But I, like the humoral immune system, have a zero tolerance policy for certain behaviors. And I'm saying that to say that the behaviors are public and present. So as I bring you on, we're here to talk about science, we're here to talk about healing, we're here to talk about nutrition. We're not here to do anything but that. So let me find my brother so I can bring him on, and we can continue the conversation, let him speak about the tyrosine issue and the phytic acid issue and, whatever else he wants to talk about. And then we'll chime in and close this conversation out in group conversation because we got about a half hour to do so. So I'm going to bring my brother on from the Amber Institute, Minister Enqi, who's been throwing punches at the devil and knocking him out Sometimes he happens to swing at his own brothers, but we duck and we spar and we love you anyway because we grew up with brothers, uncles, and fathers, and we've been in fights and lost blood and did all of that. So we do that, and we do that in the spirit of love. So let me bring on the champion of health, Minister Enqi. Can you hear me, brother? Are you on?
Yes, I am on.
Finally, what's good in the hood, brother? Talk to us.
Well, this is what I'll say in regards to your preface to opening my line. I am not interested in working out disrespectful behavior that happen in public and private, because that is parasitic behavior for somebody to disrespect me in public and then apologize to me in private while the public damage still remains. If somebody disrespects me in public, then their apology for that behavior should be in public. So I'll leave that where that is, and then we can go to the Phytic Acid issue and the tyrosine issue.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
now,
there's no apology coming from me, so I hope that wasn't directed to me. If it was directed to George, I think y'all could deal with that in your own space, in your own public venue. I'm here to talk about the science of melanin production, the issues on Phytic Acid, or anything surrounding those particular things. Those things are mute to me, and there won't be an apology coming from me. So,
correct. And I'm not expecting one from you or George, but I'm just letting you know that I don't need an olive branch in private once I've been disrespected in public. So if we want to
I got a low tolerance. I'm telling you, I got a low tolerance. So either you're going to talk about science or you're going to get hung up on. So, exactly. I mean, literally, let's get into the conversation, because the conversation is about melanin production, and it's about Phytic Acid, it's about diet, and it's about people wanting to hear information that will be, effective for them.
Okay, well, let's say this. Let's start with this. In the 40-day fruit fast group, the video is posted and the complete dialogue that brought on this radio show is there. So anybody that wants to get the backdrop to how this radio show was brought about, you can go into the 40-day fruit fast group and you can read the entire conversation after watching the video so that you can see exactly where the radio show came from and the spirit that the radio show was created in. Now, in terms of Phytic Acid, hold on, let me get to the science.
Let me slow you down. I got to slow you down. Because it's not necessary. The issue that we have here is either you're going to talk about the science or you're not. I don't know what else to say to you, my brother. We invite you on because you are respected by some people in the community as a health researcher and a person who can present facts on these particular things. I don't want to cut you off. I want you to get the time to say, but we need you to speak on these issues. This is my show. I did generate the show because of this, and I generated the show because we are on a 6-month study to look at these particular diets. My information is directed towards the Phytic Acid and the tyrosine. That's why I took my time to write a 15-page paper on it in a house where I had children in here doing my duties as a father. So I want people to understand the realness of the issue is the information. My paper is already written. So I'm going to bring you back on so you can speak about Phytic Acid. We don't want to hear about the 40-day fruit fast group. We don't want to hear about your perception of why and the spirit of the show. The spirit of the show is to present the information, brother. That's why we're actually doing it, and I'm paying for it with you on the show. So if you want to present the information, that's fine. I'm sure the listening audience wants to hear about whether Phytic Acid is something that's good or detrimental for us, or what does tyrosine have to do with the biosynthesis of melanin, and how is melanin produced. We want to hear that. So I'm going to bring you back on so we can talk about that, so we can continue our night and actually get the science and the information that you said you wanted to drop. So let me bring it back on. It wasn't a hang-up. I'm just trying to get you focused, brother, so you can bring you back on. Hopefully you're still here, you can hear me, and you can spit it out, bruh, and drop the Amber Institute knowledge about melanin, Phytic Acid, or whatever else that you want to talk about.
Okay, so now, this conversation started with my video where I was breaking down that Phytic Acid is only an issue for Europeans that have a faulty TYR gene on the 11th chromosome that prevents them from producing tyrosine naturally, okay? Because tyrosine produces not only is not only alpha-ketogluaric acid, a derivative of tyrosine, but also phytase, which neutralizes phytic acid in the cells, so that phytic acid is never a problem for melanated people. That's number one. Number two, there are a host of other things in the skins of fruit besides phytic acid. So when you get rid of the skin of the fruit, you get rid of 70% of the nutrients, because 70% of the nutrients in fruit is in the skin, which is also where the pigment to the fruit is, the tannins, the catechins, the anthocyanins, the carotenes, the lutein, the xanthan, all of the phytonutrients that are in the fruit, 70% of them are in the skin. That's number one. Number two, everything in fruit grew out of the seed. So everything that's in the fruit came from the seed. There's nothing going to be in the seed that's not going to be in the fruit, because the fruit, again, grew out of the seed. That's number three. So if we want to extend that back to George and let him address that, we can. But then also, when you came in, you said that tyrosine is a fungus. Now, I read that paper that you wrote, and nowhere in that paper do you discuss tyrosine meeting the definition of what a fungus is. Now, for the listening audience, definition of a fungus. Hold on. I'm going to speak, and then you can get your turn. As the definition of a fungus is a unicellular, meaning one cell, or multicellular organism, okay, that produces spores. An amino acid is not unicellular. An amino acid is something that's works.
A given. That's a given. And we're so evolved, we don't have to go there. I'll explain my paper when the time comes. But it's not the time to come. You can speak about phytic acid and tyrosine, but if you want me to address my paper, then you're going to be quiet, because then you're going to get blown out of the water with that paper that I wrote. But what I'm saying is, if George wants to say something about phytic acid, or whether he's 70% nutritionally deficient, I'll let you address that. Because according to Minister Enqi, George, if you're not eating the skins, you should actually be 70% nutritionally deficient. George, are you there?
So wait a minute.
I'm here.
So
I'm
am
here.
I going to be cut off every 5 minutes?
I would have.
I'm not going to be able to talk? Because George
Can you hear me?
talk, so we all went to sleep. So I'm not going to be able to make my points?
No, you already made your point. You actually asked the passage to George.
You cut me off when I was speaking. When I was addressing you.
Let me turn him off. George, can you address the issues with what Minister Enqi just stated? He said that 70% of the nutrients are in the skin of the fruit. So that would be an issue if you were only eating the pulps of the fruit or the parts that you are advancing in the NRR, then that would be a major issue with nutrition. And I probably would lean towards malnutrition. He's also saying that whatever comes from the seed is inside of the fruit. So basically saying that if you're eating the seed, then you're essentially eating everything in the fruit. That's what he's, moving towards. Now, I know you want to talk about tyrosine, but I didn't want to mix those two conversations because I know you didn't make any commentary about it. I wanted to focus on the phytic acid so you can make any comments about what he's saying about the 70% nutrients in the skin and the things that your diet, according to him, could be missing. Is there any validity to that based on your practice?
Okay, well, I would say based on my experience that it's evident that phytic acid inhibits mineral assimilation at various stages of even a transitional diet and the symptoms that are obvious that we see. So when we look for health and we determine whether these things that are said are true, we want to look for the also obvious signatures of that said health. And I like how you brought that up, whereas you asked the person with the experience as a raw fruitarian on the low phytic acid diet whether I was experiencing what Enqi said theoretically should happen to me. And I'll have to say that I am in the best shape of my life. But that's just to say that after all that I've been through in my life and all the athletics that I've been through, and the state, like I was able to bench press 300 pounds in high school at 17 years old. I was pretty much the best fitness athletic guy in my entire life that I've known. And through all of that, I'm in the best shape of my life. But that's to say that less than a year ago, I was unable to get out of my bed. I had lost 30 pounds in about 2 weeks, and I was unable to even urinate. I couldn't even get up to go to the bathroom. I was sick and dying. And this is due to I did the 3-hour video on the nutrient retention rate, so it's really extensive as to how I ended up in that situation. But I would have to say that the only reason I'm still alive today is because I had already detoxed the majority of parasites out of my body, and that if I were not on the nutrient retention rate, I would be dead today. If I were consuming phytic acid, I would not have been able to recover the mineral density that I have right now that allows me to do the fingertip pull-ups, that allowed me to gain basically 20 pounds of solid, lean muscle out of a raw fruitarian diet in less than 1 year. And I mean, that's
Sure.
I don't work out. I do yoga. I'm sorry.
But George, I want the people who are on the live stream at livestream.com, Aboriginal Global Media TV. That's Aboriginal Global Media TV. Livestream.com / Aboriginal Global Media TV. I'm showing a picture of you, myself, and Argenis in the National Black Theater so they can take a look at you physically. All right?
Oh,
I'm showing the picture. The reason why I'm showing the picture, I hope you don't mind I'm showing the picture, is because I want them to look at you, and I want them to ask themselves the question, could you possibly be nutritionally deficient based on what Minister Enqi is saying? If 70% of the nutrients that you are acquiring, you are taking out, that means you're only getting 30% of the nutrition. And I'm showing a picture of you because you should show some malnourishment, you should show some lack of vitality, you should show something visible for people to see. You should have gray hair falling out, some teeth falling out. Something should be going on with you that shows nutritional deficiency based on the practice of the diet. And what I'm saying to Minister Enqi is he's throwing a lot of European science at us, but when we get to the core utility, what we're finding is he's lost in European science. I have to say this about my brother. And I'm saying this based on some very practical things. If I can look at Brother George Bess and I can see that he is in optimal shape and he has been practicing this diet, and he's also telling us, I know you've told me, that a part of that causation factor with the sickness had to do with the seeds that you were taking in, which were cashews and maybe some others, that created a possible liver cancer issue. Is that correct? When we were talking about this?
The aflatoxin that I had, you definitely assisted me with talking about that and developing part of my remedy. I remember when we talked about the hydroxy-5 tryptophan in the pineapples, and I started looking into what these various compounds were, and so I'm not going to go deep into it, but I remember when I was just building with you on some basics, and that helped me look at what these molecular compounds that the Europeans were calling compounds were really derived from. And I actually seen that a lot of the growing practices that we can just go and research and find out what's in these fruits that we're getting actually are. And we find that a lot of the compounds like the polyphenols and the flavonoids are stimulated by the presence of various parasites. So I just wanted to add that in there, in addition to the fact that, yes, the obvious is that I've been on this diet, it saved my life, and I'm experiencing extremely good health. And I barely eat. I mean, I literally only eat a few raw fruits per day to maintain myself, and I can go days without eating. But because I feel that I have to campaign for what it is that I'm doing, I'm trying to look as aesthetically pleasing as I can so that I can attract youth and attract people to this health, because you really cannot fake the health. And like what you said, what I'm trying to do out here is make it obvious that the things that I'm utilizing are beneficial. I just want everybody who's trying to achieve better health to achieve better health, because that's the only way we can have a good society. And that's really my only motivation in this. That's really it.
Right. Well, I'll comment on this. I'll comment on this because I think this will help the discussion for Minister Enqi. Minister Enqi had the concept that you absolutely need the phytic acid. And how long have you been going without the skins on the fruit? How long has that been?
Well, it's more than just going on with the skins and without skins and seeds. but it's also, I've been doing this for over 2 years now. So I've been reducing phytic acid in my diet for over 7 years by utilizing sprouting techniques and soaking techniques. And sometimes when you cook food, that's essentially what you're doing when you're cooking like kale or you're steaming your kale. You're reducing the phytic acid to make the mineral nutrients more bioavailable, but that changes the molecular structure and makes it harder for your body to assimilate. So I would say that what I've actually focused a lot of my attention on was reducing the amount of metabolic energy my body has to expend to digest foods. And as you detox parasites from deep within, I mean, if we've been on a diet for over 10 years of eating meat and doing things that are detrimental to your body, you're not going to detox in 6 months. You're not going to detox in 1 year. It literally takes your body the time to recover its entire central nervous system, its entire muscular structure in order to really heal from these things. And you got to go through the stages that you need to allow your body to eliminate. That's when you use the phytic acid. You need to eliminate, and the phytic acid can assist, especially with various types of compounds that plants develop in order to fight parasites. That's how our bodies can extract nutrients from the herbs and beneficial healing qualities from those herbs. It's because they go through it too, and because we're not as natural as we should be, we have to rely on them at that point. And then when you get into a stage where your body has eliminated, then you need to start to recover your body. And the recovery aspect is where I go into reducing the phytic acid via skinning the skins and taking out the seeds, because that's where the majority of the phytic acid that your body cannot use, or the phytic acid that's pretty much going to strip the minerals within the body are stored. So you pretty much want to use the
I want to say something about this point scientifically, and I have to do this, and I'm going to connect it to the biosynthesis of melanin and connect it to the phytic acid because it's directly connected. Now, for those of you who look at published studies, you will see that it's kind of like a universal truth that tyrosine in organisms that are animals and in humans. Now, Minister Enqi said that white people don't produce tyrosine. I would challenge him to produce a study that says that. He has to produce that. He's never produced that. He said it. He said white people do not produce tyrosine. Now, tyrosine allegedly is one of the non-essential amino acids, which means you're supposed to have, essential amino acids, which means you're supposed to get it from food, and he's saying that they don't have it, so they have to get it from food sources. Okay, I got that. Now, when you look at tyrosine, according to most studies, which I put this in the paper, is a producer of phytase. Phytase is allegedly an enzyme, and what phytase does is it goes through something called the hydroxylation of a particular compound, and it produces what we know as cleaves to phytic acid to make it useful in the body. Now, there's some very fundamental things that we need to understand. Alcohol, ammonia, these two substances are the key substances of nitrite fermentation. Nitrite fermentation is a process that takes place where it can take place on molecular levels, tissue levels, etc. When me and Minister Enqi did our Genetic Fear of a Black Planet tour, a big part of the discussion dealt with nitrogen, its lack of bonding to oxygen in certain compounds, and what that produces in the body. It produces fermentation. So I made a statement about tyrosine being a fungus. And he took that and basically said that a fungus is a unicellular organism and tyrosine is amino acid. That's well understood. A Facebook post is basically a rant. Inside of my paper, what I produced is the fact that tyrosine is a virulent or viral amino molecule. I'm saying that to say because it produces phytase, which has a reaction with phytic acid. Now, what does it have to do with anything, with anybody's health? Because that's the most important thing. When you look at melanin studies and the most current studies, which I have, I put it in the paper. The last study that was done, which is called the supramolecular structure of melanin. The scientists will tell you the organization and synthesis of melanin is unknown. Tyrosine studies and diagnostics, whether they be cultured in vitro, where they're using spores, or even the in vivo studies using the fish techniques, are all done in synthetic manners on those spores, and the spores are in no way similar to a human cell. And inside of the fish techniques, which are techniques where they highlight things and they use fluorescent colors to see where something is going or where something is moving. These are techniques that scientists use. What they have found, and what you will know, anybody who studies, is that phenylalanine, which produces tyrosine, are both called, in scientific terms, amidogens. Amidogens are ammonia-based molecules that operate their processing based on fermentation. They add phenols or alcohol. Now, inside of that discussion, Minister Enqi would be at a loss to understand the true core functioning of the black body. Dr. Sabi gave us this, many of us gave us this. Carbon compounds, or what is called carboxylic acid or carboxylates, are the fundamental properties of melanin. In the body, when you have an amine, which is an ammonia-based molecule, which produces proteins, what you will find is the body has a direct, deliberate activity of binding carbon to every amine that is present. And the only time it breaks those carbons away from those amines is when they're being flushed out of the body. Now, why am I saying that about tyrosine and melanin? Melanin is supposed to be a light-absorbing, resonant molecule, polymer, peptide, etc. When we think about light, we're talking about the sun, solar, photosynthesis. So I'm saying that to say anyone who has done any study connecting parasites, funguses, or viruses to solar interaction, we can go to Dr. Fritz Popp, the German scientist. We can go to studies that were done at the University of Arizona on the melanotropic peptide, which I put inside my paper. What the studies prove and show is that amines, ammonia-based substances, nitrogenous-based substances, any substances that are not carbon-based substances are anti-solar. That is important. So when we look at the biological forms on the planet, namely the Europeoid races, when they interact with the solar energy, the evident science comes out to us. And that evident science is, because they are pale, whatever biochemistry that is prevalent in them causes them to have an anti-solar body. Meaning they get sunburn cells, or what is called cellular carcinoma or melanoma of the skin cells, because of their lack of having a sequence of compounds, carbon compounds, to attenuate or absorb sunlight. Now, why is that important? I'm using the black-white thing, and people get into racism or whatever, but it's a great biological model because it teaches us some very important points. The important points here are that if we're going to say that tyrosine is the primary amino acid for the biosynthesis of melanin, and we can prove that it is an amidogen, an ammonia-based compound, a compound that produces other compounds that are like phytase or others that eventually produce in the tissues spore-based organisms, or what we would call virulent amino acid compounds, then we have to scratch our head and say, how do we go from nitrogenous, ammonia-based, acid-based substances to carbon compounds that are able to attenuate solar frequencies? So Minister Enqi did something that was wonderful in his lecture where he was trying to critique you. He said there's two ways to produce melanin. One is by photosynthesis and one is by chemosynthesis. The only thing that he did not do is create his own classification system so that we could understand that the chemosynthesis is a fermentation process and the output is not melanin. The output is basically pigment mold. That's a word that's used when we talk about funguses that have the ability to produce blackness in their tissues. They're doing it through fermentation. So what I would suggest is that we implement this 6-month trial. On Monday, I'm going to bring my equipment so that we can have the conversation, we can do the diagnostics, and we can go on the 6-month trial. And not only that, I would ask Minister Enqi, since I took my time to write a paper, that you write a rebuttal paper proving that tyrosine is not a virulent or viral amino molecule that eventually builds tissues that would be or could be considered spores or funguses. I recommend that anybody who's into the science of biosynthesis of melanin, please read that paper, because in the beginning, I take a quote from the latest studies on melanin, and I'm going to read this quote to close out this particular session that we're having tonight. And the session says, the melanins are an important class of multifunctional biomacromolecules with fascinating and potentially useful electronic and optoelectronic properties. They are one of the last major biomacromolecular systems where we do not know how the constituent molecules organize. Do not know. This knowledge gap hinders attempts to map their properties and function, and is a particular issue in understanding their roles in human photoprotection and melanoma cancer. So when you look at the study, you look at that source. Now, the founder of tyrosine is a German scientist named Justus von Liebig. It's interesting that his name is Liebig. And where he found tyrosine is from a protein that was being produced in cheese. The word tyrosine means cheese. So you're going to also have to explain to me how tyrosine is being produced in a heterotrophic set of fungal parasitic environments. And if you're using the chemosynthesis model, you have to show me that tyrosine is actually being made in the body. You have to do that from a lab, and you have to produce the reports to show it. And you have to show me, if white people know how melanin is made, how come they can't solve the problems with melasma, vitiligo, and other things that their reports are saying phytic acid produces? So I put that all in the report. Phytic acid is known to produce a condition called melasma, which is a downgraded form of vitiligo where the person begins to lose pigment. Why is the person losing pigment? As they take in larger levels of phytic acid? That's a question that you need to read the paper to understand. And that's a question that Minister Enqi is going to actually have to answer scientifically. And what I would like for Minister Enqi to do is go on a phytic acid diet, and let's measure his increase his phytic acid, and let's measure his output over time. We have the diagnostic machines, we have the models, we have the way that we can accomplish these particular things. But most importantly, I think the most important thing we can get out of this conversation tonight, and I'm going to get the brothers off the line so I can sum up because I only was supposed to go 2 hours. I want to thank Brother George Bess for being on tonight because he dropped the information. I want to thank Minister Enqi for coming on, even though kind of acting like a little child, brother. Hopefully you wake yourself up, and if you want to write a rebuttal paper to what I wrote, write a rebuttal paper proving that tyrosine is not a viral amino molecule, that is a ammonium and alcohol-based substance. Phenol-based substance, which is more acidic than alcohol. Write a rebuttal paper, brother. Produce it, put it on Amber Institute. We'll read your paper, and we'll accept your point in the sense of doing our diligent study. With that being said, I'm going to go back and rewind all the way to the back of the show and remind everybody, Urban Kryptonite. Go to the site, urbankryptonitefilms.com. Get the book, Urban Kryptonite. Support the movement of Brother Kochi Taraksa, Brother Diallo, Brother Saladin, Brother Jehudi Mayat Ra, because Urban Kryptonite needs to be made a household slogan for us. We know that we are suffering from the things that we're suffering as far as the health maladies, and those brothers are going all throughout the country. They're going to be in Milwaukee. They're going to be on the East Coast. You can keep up with them and where they're going to be on Facebook, on their Facebook pages, Brother Diallo Morgan or Brother Kochi Taraksa, or you can go to urbankryptonitefilms.com and stay abreast of those particular things and stay in the movement. Sister Abundance Child. And I didn't get a chance to get Sister, our chef, Akio on. I didn't see the numbers to get her on, and hopefully I didn't miss you because I didn't see any Atlanta numbers or any other numbers. I tried the ones that I had, but the sisters came in, Sister Abundance, and Balance the Energy. We thank her for doing her work with Order of Mother Earth, Girl Society, and all the things that she's doing with the Drop Squad Kitchen. We're elevating our sisters. We're taking the time to educate them on nutritional healing and actually being a pragmatic person in nutritional healing. And with our brother George Bess, we thank you for sharing. Because we haven't heard a lot about the nutritional retention rate, I wanted you to have most of the time so you could explain to people exactly what it is, explain to people your history, your past. You did an excellent job of that tonight. We appreciate you sharing all the information that you shared. Minister Enqi, we appreciate the little bit that you did share. It seems for some reason you were the only one that came on with the bad spirit, brother, but we still love you. I got to say it. We still love you. I had to shut you down because I didn't want that spirit to be prevalent tonight. But if you want to refute all those points in the paper, or Brother George, you're welcome to continue to use YouTube and all the other methods that you use to continue to teach what you want to teach. And, hopefully that someone will see value in what you're saying and the good of it can be good for our people. The most important point we want to say tonight, after having all these masters of health, is that health is a personal thing. It's a walk in your own life that you have to experience. I think Brother George laid that down very well tonight. We thank all of the people who came on, and hopefully we brought a little bit more peace to the situation. And the show is not going to continue because I have responsibilities that I have to do. But listen, we'll be back on Sunday. We'll highlight it again. We can open up the show air and have more time, do a 3-hour show so we can let the folk get on and say what they want to say and have the discussion that they want to discuss. But most important, as far as, what we want to discuss, is we have to study and we have to take time outside of what you're looking at on YouTube, outside of what you're looking at, on a Blog Talk Radio, outside of what you might hear at an Ali Muhammad lecture. You have to read and study and apply this stuff yourself. That is the most important thing that we can lay out. Anybody who wants to get my information on the biosynthesis of melanin, you can go to my Facebook page, Aboriginal Chief Ali, or reach me on Facebook, Dr. Ali Muhammad, Amaru Namataga, any one of those. I provided that information so people can read. I am not into people being lazy, so if you're interested, the paper is free and downloadable. I'll upload it to Aboriginal Medical Association's website tonight so that you can read that information and have that information. We will be in New York on Monday. I want to re-announce August 29th we'll be at the UN. August 30th and 31st, we will be at the National Black Theater for our 4th Aboriginal Summit. Some of the speakers who spoke tonight will be in the building speaking on health and a number of other things. We appreciate you tonight. We end this on goodwill and in good spirits. We had some chop tonight, but it's all good. All of it is in the spirit of love, in the sense that, my brothers and sisters, we need to continue to study. We got to continue to study. So thank you for your time tonight. It was a beautiful opportunity. We will be back on Sunday, 9 p.m., Aboriginal Radio. This is Dr. Ali signing off for the night. Peace.